Hey guys, welcome back to the Kampai Sugai podcast. My name is Gavin. I don't know, some people call me Kampai for some reason.
Yeah, or
days.
Sugai.
Well, Sugai I'm okay with. But
Okay.
Kampai is kind of interesting. It's like, oh, my name is Shears. Thank you.
Yeah,
you know? But yeah, I've been catching that these days. It's kind of strange, actually.
I thought your name was Sugai.
Oh, okay, good.
I didn't know until you said, "Hi, I'm Gavin." I went,
I mean,
"Oh."
technically, it is my last name, Sugai.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
There it is.
So that's how it fits in. But
Gotcha.
I'm okay with Sugai. That's kind of like a doctor way of saying, like, they'll usually say the last name of somebody.
Right.
Right? Like, they'll say, like, Dr. House. Like, they'll just say, oh, House.
Yeah.
Right? But they won't say, like, Greg.
Right.
Which is his first name.
So
But
you're a doctor.
I'm not a doctor.
Oh.
I'm an accountant.
I'm just playing.
But they could say Sugai.
Right.
I don't know if there's a accountant Sugai. I don't know.
Right. Imagine having not enough time that you can't even say Dr. Sugai.
That's true.
It's like you're in such a rush. You have to say Sugai.
Or they just say S. Right?
Yeah, right? It's
You
like,
know? Or Sug.
does it really take that much time?
Yeah, maybe they just say Sug. You know, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. We'll never know your life as a doctor.
Yeah, that's true. But actually, my cousin is a doctor,
Oh.
a dermatologist.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But he's a really good dermatologist in Bellevue. Shout outs to Dr. Daniel Sugai.
Dr. Daniel Sugai.
Yep.
Have any extra retinol you can ship me?
Oh, trust me, he does.
Oh, yeah.
He does have extra retinol.
Daniel. I miss Hawaii. Nice to meet you. No.
He's in Seattle right now.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, actually, he lives in Bellevue.
Okay,
So,
nice. I never been.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I think I've been to Seattle once, just
Okay.
for vacation. Yeah.
Huh. Interesting. I never even introduced you yet.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
Anyway, please.
Was I supposed to be silent that whole time
No,
while you did the
you
intro?
can talk. We can talk. It doesn't matter.
Oh, sorry.
I don't know how the intros go sometimes, but that's okay. We can do whatever. Anyway, please give a round of applause for aspiring film and television producer, founder of the Kahua Kollective, and Miss Hawaii 2023, Miss Star Dahl Thurston.
Hello. Thank you.
Where's your crown?
I didn't bring it. Should I have? Shucks.
That's okay. Where's your sash?
I didn't bring it either.
Oh, see?
Oh, shucks.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
Missing out.
I know. Sorry.
Anyway, so first off, how has your life changed since becoming Miss Hawaii? Because I imagine it being super busy every week.
Yeah, it can be very, very busy. But I lived a really busy lifestyle before, so that hasn't changed so much. But the type of community engagement I'm involved in has definitely changed.
Okay.
The kind of events I'm invited to, and award events, and chef award things, that kind of stuff. That's really fun. So, yeah, I just get to know a different side of Hawaii.
Okay. What has been your favorite event or experience so far since becoming Miss Hawaii?
Favorite event? It's not something that is completely a community event, but right after I won, we had a Miss Hawaii dinner kind of event.
Okay.
Cocktails and dinner
Okay.
with all the former Miss Hawaiis. And it was
Wow.
kind of like my welcoming to the sisterhood, and they haven't had that kind of party in a while, or to that extent. And it was fabulous. And that was just so special to get to meet. Honestly, almost all of the Miss Hawaiis before me, some don't live here and couldn't make it, but it was very, very special. Where I
So-
got presented with my my pendant, my
Oh,
Miss Hawaii
okay.
pendant.
Oh, we should just zoom in on that right there.
Yep, and my Miss Hawaii Hawaiian bracelet.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, they have I didn't know they had an exclusive
Yeah,
Miss
a
Hawaii
bracelet. And it has my name on the inside and my year.
Wow, really?
Yep, and it's Royal Hawaiian Heritage Jewelry is our sponsor, and they weren't a sponsor for many years. But some of the sisters kind of took it in their own hands and have gotten a few more sponsors, and so I was presented with the jewelry at the
Oh.
event.
Oh, well, congratulations, first of all.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and it's amazing that just the journey, because I imagine the journey to getting to the competition and then even going through it. There's a lot of nerves going on. It's super nerve wracking because you're in the backstage. You're just like, oh my gosh, what are people thinking? At that point, what are the judges thinking?
It's crazy. Pageants are definitely a mind game. I think it's a lot like golf. I love to
Okay.
play golf, and when I was prepping, I'd seen that PGA Netflix documentary, and it's talking all about how when your mind's not in it, your game's not going to be right, because you can prep and practice all you want, but when you're on the green, it's just you and your mind, basically, and that determines how you play. So pageants are a lot like that. You can do all of the prep you want, but when you're in the moment, on the stage, with the lights, you're nervous, you're wondering what everyone's thinking about you, you have to be able to, like, stay in the pocket, you know? So I think it's kind of like a sport. It's very difficult. I hadn't done pageants before, so that was very
wow.
much different. I had to get used to that.
Okay.
Train your mind.
Yeah. So the Miss Chinatown pageant was your first one then?
First one.
Wow.
Yep.
Amazing.
And I love their program. They're actually a festival. And they take girls typically who hadn't run in pageants before. And we meet for 2 months or 3 months before the pageant. We meet every week and kind of learn about Chinese culture, Chinese language, Chinese food.
Oh,
But
wow.
also like pageant prep, like how to conduct yourself in an interview, some tips and tricks, walking tips, photography or like posing, that kind of thing. So it was cool. It's like a crash course in all things that are pageant. And it gave me a lot of confidence to kind of evaluate myself where I'm at, see the kind of woman I wanted to be on the stage in maybe 2 months, and then come up with a plan to get there.
What kind of improvements did you have to make from Miss Chinatown to Miss Hawaii? Were there any like things you had to alter in maybe interview portion or maybe your walk? What kind of improvements did you make?
Definitely. I think that I approached pageants in kind of a unique way where I had just wanted to become a better version of myself. So you take 3 or 4 months to prep, right? And I thought, well, if I'm just a better version of myself, then that's going to be okay for me, whether I win or lose. So I approached it mind, body, spirit. In my mind, and to get into the gym and to start eating better and to have practicing, you know, my interview questions, things like that, I wanted to be disciplined. So I really had to work on that. And I was pushing myself in the gym. And I like to think it's a mind, body, spirit. In your mind, you really need to have discipline. In your body, endurance. And then in your spirit, perseverance. Because you're choosing to put yourself in such a difficult position every single day in order to train for an outcome like 4 months down the line. So getting to Miss Chinatown was really coming out of my shell. I had lost my mom maybe a year before, and I was still kind of depressed and just wanting a change. So it was the first time I really was getting in the gym in my life.
Oh, okay.
And I was building like that physical fitness, and it really paved the way for me to feel spiritually and emotionally strong, because I hadn't really felt it at the time. And then going into Miss Hawaii, it was just a whole new ball game. Like I had kind of reached a peak of the mountain, but I wasn't all the way there yet. But the same thing, but in a different way. God had more things to reveal for me, and it was really about shedding images of myself that I had as a little girl or like in middle school, the insecurities I held, and I kind of had to let go of them so that I could step into a new confidence and be a woman that I felt deserved to be Miss Hawaii.
Yeah, definitely. That's a lot of growth between that time as well, because
Yeah.
and you going back to your mom, you actually talk about her in your poems. She passed away from stage 4 ovarian cancer.
Yeah.
So talk to us about that transition from your mom passing away to you entering into a pageant.
Yeah, it's so crazy. So my mom raised me as a single parent, and it was just me and her. And when she passed, she had cancer in 2020 during the pandemic, and then she went into remission. But then at the beginning of 2021, she got re-diagnosed, and that's where she had stage 4, and she had about 4 months, and it was slow and painful and ugly, and I was her main caregiver, and just traumatizing. So when she passed, there was a lot of peace because her pain was over, but then I had to not only deal with my grief, but deal with the trauma of being in the ER every single weekend, of like seeing things that you never want to see your parent go through, especially at such a young age.
Yeah.
I was living a nightmare, and I was just in autopilot. So maybe 6 months later, I was starting to kind of get out of my shell. I had been just working and trying to feel something. But I was still depressed, and I had heard, like if you want a different life, you got to do different things. And so there was an Orange Theory across from my work, not sponsored, but you could sponsor me.
Shout
and
out
I was
to the
like,
Orange Theory.
yeah, right. It was the Kaka'ako location. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to go every morning and see what happens, just to feel different. I was gaining weight and I felt emotionally like garbage. And then I started feeling physically like garbage. So I started going 6:15 every morning or every other morning, and it started to change something inside of me. I was finding community. I was enjoying the commitment, the commitment and the routine of it. And that's where it taught me a lot about discipline, because that was, whether I knew it or not, the first time I chose healing, because I think that it can be a choice when you're ready. And I was choosing to show up to the gym in the morning, whether I was crying in the parking lot 10 minutes before because I couldn't get out of bed, but I was trying to show up for myself. You know, I knew my mom would not be okay with me just coasting, you know, with like the potential that I had. So I was showing up for her. I was showing up for me. And that really broke off these shells of depression for me, was my fitness, and ultimately got me into a position where I felt confident enough to run at a pageant, not because of what it did to my body, but because I was gaining confidence in who I was.
Yourself.
Yeah, I felt like a new person, like I had a new lease on life. Yeah. And that's kind of, I had been going there for about 6 months, and somebody suggested that I run for a pageant called Miss Chinatown. And I had thought about it before the previous year, and I just didn't really feel up for it.
Yeah.
And then I thought, well, after I felt like I lost everything and then found joy again, I was like, I'm just going to do it.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. Got nothing to lose. If anything, I'm going to come out a better version of myself. It'll give me a goal for my fitness and, work on speaking. All of it were good outcomes, and then I embarked on that journey.
Wow. It's kind of like you were saying about spirit, mind, and body. So I go to church as well, but they always say that if your spirit is not good, then it kind of carries your mind and then your body as well. So if your spirit's not at peace, then your mind is in distraught, and then your body starts feeling the effects of. It's a chain reaction. So
absolutely,
for yourself, you pretty much had to find a way to find peace with your spirit first, and then your mind can start recovering, and then from there you can physically get better.
Yeah, it's a three-way street, or an intersection, you could say, with your mind and your body and your spirit. One of them is out of whack, and it'll affect the rest of them. And I'm actually still picking up the pieces of the stress and of that my body went through. I had seen a acupuncturist just recently, actually, because I've been getting stress-induced hives, and my body's just been kind of breaking down.
Interesting.
Really strange symptoms, and nothing's particularly changed. But I just felt something was off, and we were talking, and she looked at me and was like, I think that your trauma is holding you back. Your mind and your spirit went ahead, but your body hasn't fully recovered from what you went through. And she said that, I almost got emotional because our body really does remember, and I had seen a therapist who also told me that I don't really feel my feelings. I think through them, and then intellectually.
Oh, that's interesting.
And then I go on. And she's so true, because I'll talk about it. And when I can reason with it, I feel like I've understood it. I can move on. But really, I don't like sitting with the trauma, with the feelings. And who does, right? The hurt, right? So that's where I'm challenging myself in this season is, to heal my body, which is just an all-around thing, mind, body, spirit. But to also thank my body for getting me through the craziness of the last 2 years. So...
I totally understand a loss of a parent, because I lost my dad a year ago in October.
Wow.
He had a infection in his back. Before that, he was experiencing some Alzheimer's. He was experiencing Parkinson's.
Wow.
He had diabetes. And actually, when we lost him, it was pretty quick. It was kind of around my birthday, so it was I was, honestly, it's interesting because my spirit actually felt at peace, because I felt like I knew where he was going already.
Yeah, the suffering's over, right?
And the suffering is over, and I knew he was going to heaven. You know, like he was a strong pastor and everything. So I already knew like he left peacefully, and he did, right? And then from there, you know, people went through grief. It's funny because I actually went to, they had like the hospice care memorial thing, and a lot of people were grieving differently. And my mom and I were looking at each other and we're like, we don't feel like too sad, right? And I think a lot of it was that peace. Our spirit was at peace.
Yeah.
We've accepted that he did pass away, and that we were able to feel like there was some recovery, right? Of course, I'm still sad,
Right.
but you know, I'm able to joke about him.
Yeah.
And joke about like him like haunting me or something as a ghost.
Right.
You know, because like he has actually.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny. Like you can joke about that, but like a lot of his memories and his heart and what he believed in passed on to myself and many others. And you know, I tell people that's how we carry out the legacy of like loved ones that passed away, because if we keep their memory alive and we keep their spirit alive, that's going to help us to share who they were to others.
Yeah. Wow. I'm so sorry that you had to go through that. And the first year is always so tough. But he sounds like an amazing man. And it sounds like you have a great support system that has helped you get through everything.
Thank you.
That's tough.
Yeah, it hasn't reached the year yet. But you know, it feels pretty fast that, you know, the whole transition process. And you know, I've been helping some of my friends that have lost loved ones as well to go through that transition, and to help them just to take time, because everybody grieves differently. And
you know, and that's so hard. People think since I've lost my mom, and that was such a traumatic, life-changing moment, that I know what to say to people. You know, but if anything, it's taught me that I have no idea what your experience was, because we all experience it so different. So I actually find myself more silent when a friend or family loses somebody, because I don't know what to say. Before I could offer 100, you know, sweet nothings of condolences, but now like my heart just breaks for them, and sometimes I just don't have words. Sometimes you just have to be there, you know, present. That's the number one thing. And that was like what I challenge people now to do is when you lose someone, to stay present, stay in the moment, because when you get lost in your head, that's when the depression and the anxiety or whatever it is, trauma, will start to eat you up. But staying in the moment, that's what will keep your foot going in front of the other day after day. So, man.
Yeah.
Cheers to your dad. Let's have a little cheers moment.
Yeah, cheers. I'm almost done with my drink over
Cheers.
here. But
I know. I've got my water here. My green water. I've been putting chlorophyll in my water.
Really? What is so? What's the chlorophyll do?
I don't know. Apparently, hot girls do it. No, just kidding. But it was
Hot girl September.
Yeah, right. No. So during 2020, everybody was like, "Drink your chlorophyll. It's good for your body.
Really?
It's something that plants produce, and it's apparently supposed to be good for your skin because it oxygenates your blood."
Okay.
But get this. I have severe asthma. That's why my fitness journey was like a whole miracle for me, because I was running and I couldn't breathe, but then I could breathe. But anyway, I digress. The chlorophyll oxygenates my blood, and I notice a big difference with my asthma.
Oh,
Scientifically, Dr. Daniel, I don't know if that makes any sense to you. And I don't know if that's the reason why.
It probably has to do with your skin.
Right? Watch it all be in my mind.
Yeah.
But I notice a difference with my asthma. So I drop my chlorophyll in there, I put my electrolyte squeeze, and I drink it every day.
Wow. Chlorophyll. Okay, I'm gonna try that.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
It's worth it. I don't know that it changes my skin. Oh, and it's a natural deodorizer. So like if you're like smelly, or when I get really stressed, my sweat smells different. You know, it's not just sweat. It's like, ooh, take a shower, right? But it's like a natural deodorizer, so you don't get all.
Okay, so even if your stressful sweat is gonna smell good, then I guess, or it's not gonna smell at all, I guess.
Yeah, and just not yucky. So if you're going into a stressful season, please put chlorophyll in your water for everybody around you.
Sponsored by Miss Hawaii.
Yeah, right. Plants, eat them. Yeah.
Chlorophyll.
Yeah.
So, talking about qualities of our parents, right? So, what kind of qualities did you think your mom passed on to you that you take with you in your journey?
Yeah, being crazy.
Okay.
My mom, anybody that met her, she was absolutely crazy. She didn't take no for an answer. When she had an idea of something, she was going to do it, no matter how ridiculous it was. And Sometimes it's very simple, like starting a new family tradition every year, hoping that one will stick.
Okay.
And other times it's as practical as making sure that I was going to attend a really good private school. She had gotten divorced from her ex-husband, and we didn't really have the money for private school. And my mom was like, no, she's going to go to Punahou, because she had such a belief in education and wanted that to be my foundation. So, you know, I was a financial aid student, but every year or every semester we would get the letter, and that means that I could go back. So like my entire educational journey was per semester. I knew I was going to go to public school if I didn't get enough financial aid, but she just instilled this faith in me. She told me that God was going to be faithful and that this is what I want for you, and she was going to make it happen. She busted her butt working, and she held a lot of jobs and just to make things happen, you know? So I'd like to think that I have that kind of crazy faith too, where I dream big and then figure out a way to make it happen. You know, no is really an opportunity to figure out how to make it work. And that's what she instilled in me for sure.
Yeah, crazy faith.
Yeah.
Which is amazing because, yes, you did go to Punahou, you graduated, and then you went to Washington, D.C.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, do you know me? No.
I think so.
I love it.
And then you went for business and entertainment,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay. So talk about that experience, actually traveling abroad, because it's a big difference from Hawaii, especially D.C.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the first time I actually studied abroad was junior year of high school. I lived in Beijing, China.
Oh.
And it wasn't an exchange program, but just an abroad study. And that was actually crazy. I had 2 different host families because the first one kicked me out, which was awful.
The craziness.
I know, and not because of me. They had hosted a
really?
daughter or like a host girl in the summer, and she just like clicked with the daughter, and it was almost like a
interesting.
babysitter kind of situation.
I
And I was like at school and doing my homework and wanted to explore, and it just wasn't really what they were looking for. So I got to switch to a new host family who ended up being like the best people ever.
Okay.
They were secretaries to Chairman Mao, and like super full communist Chinese people, did not speak English. But we just had the best time, and I would go to her dance classes that she would teach, and we would eat and we would drink, and we would just like have the non-alcoholic things, of course, because I was 16. But you know, we would just have the best time. And I learned so much about communicating when my language would fail me. They didn't speak any English. I learned so much about how you can be with somebody and not even talk, you know? And it's like about caring and empathy, nonverbals. Yeah. But then DC, that was really exciting experience for me. I had not grown up with African-American people. So like we experienced race. Are you from here?
Yes.
Yeah, so we experienced race in such a different way. And I was really ignorant to what that looked like. You hear about it, you know about it, but you don't actually experience it. So that first year, the only culture shock I had was trying to understand our racial tension in America. So like I really quickly realized that I did not know that dynamic. It was very foreign to me. And when I would talk about race, a lot of people, it didn't sit right with people. Because we here in Hawaii acknowledge race. Like, oh, I met this cute Korean girl, you know, her family is Chinese. You know, like it's just context for us. It has no kind of...
There's no like true like emotion behind it. It's just...
Right. There's no hate.
Yeah, there's no hate.
And there's not even like love. There's like not emotion. It's just like, oh yeah, you understand. Oh, okay, so they do this, they eat that.
Right.
But right when I realized that, I was in a sociology class, and my teacher realized that I really wanted to lean into this. So she got me into a bunch of these other classes that talked about race and sociology and that tension. And that first year was a deep dive for me about systematic racism and and what that looked like.
So coming back to Hawaii, what did you bring from your experience in DC?
That's a great question. I think that I had this global perspective after going to DC. A lot of my friends were not Americans. They were from Dubai or the DR or other places in the world. And I really got to understand what other people's experiences in life were like. We're so sheltered here, right?
Yeah.
And it's really nice because we're shielded from a lot of things like the gun violence epidemic that is sweeping across our country the last decade.
Different
and
wildlife.
Yeah, different wildlife, different food. Like we really get to have this bubble. And so what I brought back, I felt like was new eyes to see, you know, like when you understand other people's stories, when you really listen to them, all judgment drops. You know, you can't judge somebody for their experiences in life. And it's only helped me build bridges and get to understand people who maybe are not everyone's first pick to want to be friends with or understand. But we all have a story and we all have pain, you know, hurt people.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah, that's the biggest thing.
So when you travel to the East Coast, let's say, you know, they have different labels for, like, if they look at me, they'll say Japanese.
Right.
People don't know I'm Filipino as well. I'm half Filipino.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
But then the thing is, like, when you go to, like, DC, for instance, right, they'll just think I'm Asian.
Right.
Or some sort of, maybe if they see me as Filipino, maybe they'll say I'm maybe Mexican or Spanish.
Yeah.
So what did they, how about for yourself? Did they say, like, automatically, oh, maybe she's Hawaiian, you know?
No, it's never Hawaiian. In DC, it was always Hispanic of some kind.
Okay.
Where people would come up to me and start speaking Spanish, you know, and I'm like, no, I'm sorry, I don't speak that. I'm not Hispanic at all. But I have kind of curly hair. I had really curly hair then. It's kind of flattened out.
Oh, okay.
But I could look Hispanic, but that's a part of, I'm very mixed. I'm Portuguese, Polish, Hawaiian, and those are all a quarter. And my last quarter is like Tahitian and German and Melanesian and like just so many different things.
That's
Vietnamese. My ancestry.com thing is like this long. And so
You just have to check off every
yeah,
box.
just like got it. And honestly, besides the Hawaiian, Portuguese, Polish, the rest changes. I've taken a few tests and it's always different, you know, but there's like
Interesting.
Chinese and Vietnamese, but the percentages always change. And then they throw in other things like Scandinavian. And it's like, oh, I didn't see that before.
Yeah.
But all that to say is I'm very, because of that, racially ambiguous.
Yeah.
So when I go to different places, people think that I'm different races. Like when I lived in China and I guess I had kind of a more fluent accent, everyone thought that I was half Chinese, you know, where I'm
Wow.
like this much Chinese.
Interesting.
But people see what they want to see, right? What they can identify.
But I mean, that even strengthens your experience with global diversity, because you are so many different things
Right.
that make up Dahl Thurston. you
Yeah,
know?
exactly. And growing up in Hawaii, at least I didn't grow up thinking about the intersectionalities of my race. You know, like we never went to school and went, oh, the Japanese kids sit there and the Korean kids sit there. And I'm not one or the other enough to identify, right? So it's so different than everybody who grows up on the continent, because they have to, you know, I'm even like half white kids, you know, the Hapa kids, which we are all like, Hapa kids are everything, right?
Yeah.
And growing up in school, it's like, oh,
Right.
the Hapa kids are, but
Yeah. They have the chlorophyll, you know. what I
yeah.
mean?
They have the chlorophyll. They were going to Whole Foods and drinking that since 12. No. But like some kids, they don't feel black enough to be with the black kids. They don't feel white enough to be with the white kids. And I don't know. It's just
It's a different
interest-
mindset.
It's a completely different mindset. And for a while, it made me feel like I just need to shut my mouth about it. Like I need to just be quiet and understand other people's hurt. But I also think that our unique perspective on race gives us a leg up to spread aloha. Like that is something that the world, not just America, needs so desperately, because we're more divided than ever before. But because we're raised in an environment where we don't see through hate, it's all community and it's all love. I think that it's almost a call to action for us to extend on that, you know, and to not get this like disease, to not catch the COVID of hate,
true.
you know, but to just lean into the love, even when things started coming for us, like this, like the Asian hate that started during COVID.
Yeah.
You know, that's, I feel like I know a lot of friends who felt like it was their first time experiencing hate towards their race as Asian people growing up in Hawaii. So, I don't know. I say all of that just to say it's a call to action. You know, like we have something special. People might look down on it, but there's just something very important. And it's a message that we all have the capability to extend out. And it's just to love other people, whether they're irritating or racist or whatever. Like they need to be taught, sure. But
Yeah.
we have something that they don't, and they can't touch it, you know?
And you know, everybody grows up differently, because you know, life experience really plays into parts of how people react to other people.
Yeah.
Right? Especially online as well, because
Oh my gosh.
you know, there's all kinds of crazy stuff that goes on online. I experience it. I'm sure you
Same,
do as
yeah.
well. You know? But you know, sometimes it's people just, maybe they're angry or they're happy about something, or they're just they're in an environment that's maybe optimal for them, or it's just not it's just not what they want in life, and then they take it out however they can.
The internet is a spooky place. And it's also not a real place.
Yeah.
You know, like so many people, I don't know, like their lives get changed on the internet, whether they become famous or like they get a lot of hate. And I was just thinking about this the other day because I was at a Jonas Brothers concert. And, you know, Joe Jonas is going through this really public divorce with his wife, Sophie. And I was sitting on the couch with my girlfriend just talking about the concert. And it occurred to me, like, this is real life. Like you and I having this conversation, this is real, right? But there's so much that happens for these people who are famous or like have platforms on the internet that's supposed to like change their life and it really impacts them, but it's not a real place. You know, like we forget how to be humans because we both know those people would not be saying as radical things if they were saying it to somebody's face. So I've had a new perspective on the internet. Everybody thinks that they know you, you know, and they don't. But yeah, not a real place.
Well, I know you, Star.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, and I know you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, Dr. Gavin.
That's very true because, like, you know, for you know, divorce. Whenever there's like controversy with, you know, celebrities or everything, people are very, I guess they're so closely knit to it because they see it on the internet, and then they think like, oh, I understand everything about the situation because I've seen the articles, because I've seen the media, which is honestly, media can be skewed however way they want it to be, especially like entertainment news or whatever.
Yeah.
But then in actuality, it's not real because they're not really in that situation. They're not in the day-to-day to see what's going on.
Yeah. We all like to escape somewhere, you know, whether it's watch TV, watch a movie, play video games, read books. Like we all enjoy that to a degree, right? But then some people take real life and just change it up a little bit. And then it's just as fantasy land, you know, it's another escape to learn about celebrities' drama. And I feel bad for them, you know, because that's their life that people think that they get a say in. Anyway, something I've been thinking about.
Yeah. And then like for me, like I watch like UFC a lot. So maybe I'll see a fighter, especially this last one. There was it was Strickland versus Adesanya. Big fight. And I bet on Strickland, right? Which nobody did. But I bet on him because I just saw his last two fights and I thought his style was going to work best against the champion.
Yeah.
And of course he won. But then people were downing the champion. They said, oh, he had an off night. You know, what's going on with him? Is there like personal problems? And they make up a lot of different things. Yeah. And then they go down this rabbit hole and then they start believing the things in that rabbit hole, which it could be completely different. Maybe he just had an off night, or maybe he just was not feeling it. And and that's okay, you know, but they had so many opinions and they went into it. And, you know, it hurts because here's a guy who's been dominant. He's been beating a bunch of people, and then the minute he makes a mistake, everybody's jumping on the hate train, and it sucks. You know,
everybody's waiting for somebody to make a mistake, and it's so much worse with athletes. You just see these champions start cracking, and then people get mad at them, but they have the pressure of the world on their shoulders, and they're expected, you know. Maybe once they break a record, they're expected to continue to beat themselves. You know, like how do you live a life having to constantly exceed expectations? You know, you can only do that for so long. So everybody's preying on the downfall, you know, but don't pay them any mind. Yeah.
Well, for you've already experienced some success. So I want to go back to Miss Hawaii for yourself. So in the competition, what would you say was your hardest I guess like phase, I guess, in the competition?
For me, it would had to be fitness.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I am. Now, pageants are much more about what you look, especially the Miss America system. I don't want to overlook that or overshadow it. It's the biggest scholarship fund in the entire world, Miss America, right? But I will say that fitness is a component, and I wanted to be proud of who I was on the stage, you know, in your fitness wear. And so I was really working hard in the gym and in the kitchen because I'm not naturally lean. I've never been really a lean person. And this is the kind of first time in my life I've ever been into fitness because I had really bad asthma and I was a taller and chubbier kid growing up, and I got some hate for it, and it just, really rocked my world. So that was the hardest one. And those were the images of myself I had to really shed, because they judge you on poise and confidence. It's not like if your body looks right, technically it's not on those papers. So like, how do you could have like the most ripped body, but you don't have the confidence to do that walk and show your fitness stuff off, right? So the fitness I had to work on was the confidence in the fitness and being proud of where my body had gotten me. And especially after losing my mom, it was easy to stay grounded in the fact that, well, when I was upset at my body not looking the way I wanted it to look, it still worked. It got me out of bed. I could go to the gym. I could walk from here to my car. Like, I could actually still use it. And that helps a lot, because we can all spiral, right? Especially when you're like, I'm not eating what I'm usually eating, and I'm doing low carb, and I'm exercising, and I'm just like,
keto,
yeah, you're just like going insane. But to stay grounded in the fact that I have able bodies, Pageant land is a very weird, scary place sometimes, where it's very tunnel vision on things that don't matter in the real world. How big my hair is and how skinny my waist is. That doesn't matter, like, it's a part of it, sure. But I think it's so important to stay in your perspective, because at the end of the day, when you become Miss Hawaii or you become Miss America, young girls are not going to care about, like, how did you stay out of your head trying to get skinny? What they want to know is, how do they overcome their self-doubt? They want to know how they gain confidence, or how they overcome, how to be grounded, how to overcome grief. Like, these things that the platform is supposed to be used for. That's another tangent of mine. But the fitness was definitely my hardest bit, but gaining confidence in it.
How about your pageant dresses? Because so your evening gown, right? It was this lace long, blue, solid color, elegant dress. Looked like something you could go to a gala with, right?
Oh, thanks.
But then, like, you see a lot of the other girls, they had like very bedazzled shiny stuff. Was that like a strategy for you?
Absolutely not. I actually bought that dress 2 weeks before the pageant.
Okay.
Because I had actually had this amazing opportunity to design my gown. And I met this woman who made a cheongsam for me for Miss Chinatown, and I loved it and had a very clear vision. Now, this time I just didn't trust myself and my instincts, because I was new to pageants and I wanted to do well. So I listened to people who had more experience than me. But what happened is I ended up listening too much, designing a dress with my seamstress. That was not me. It was super bedazzled, but then things didn't quite look right.
Yeah.
And I didn't love it. She made a beautiful gown, but I looked at it, I tried it on at the end and was like,
oh, well, it didn't feel good.
No, it didn't feel good. And you only get, I was going to say, like, I didn't really plan on running again. This was just something I fell into. So I said, if this is going to be my one time on the Miss Hawaii stage, I need to wear something I feel confident in. So luckily, I was going to LA maybe the next week for a nonprofit event that's really advocating for film here. It's called I Can, amazing organization. But I was like, okay, when I'm there, I'm going to just go dress shopping. And I wandered into a shop and I found this gown and it just clicked. I was like, okay, I'm going to take this home and I'm going to wear it. And I had actually bought a shinier gown that I wore for my talent. And I was going to switch them. I was going to have the shiny one be the evening gown and the blue was going to be my talent gown. But just my family was like, no, the blue is spectacular. And I was like, okay, I know it's not really pageanty, but I felt confident in it. And the fact that I got a lot of feedback that when we were all on the stage, my family, and they're my family, so who knows, right? But they said, we just kept looking at you. And the fact that your dress didn't have a lot going on, it let us look at you. And you really shined for who you are, and that authenticity was the only thing I really wanted to represent. So I lucked out that it shined. And it really made me confident in telling people that you just have to go with your gut. If you're doing you can't fail. Nothing about it is going to go down. Even if everybody hates it and you don't win whatever you're trying to do or accomplish what you're trying to accomplish, you did you.
Right.
You can't hate on yourself for that. You feel confident at least.
And I totally agree, because like that dress, it stood out over like the other dresses, just because it was the solid color, looked very elegant, looked smooth.
Thank
It was a
you.
solid color, something that and they're completely right. With the other dresses, like the people will just notify. Oh, they just notice the dresses. They'll look at the
Yeah.
shiny stuff on it. But for that one, it more was a compliment to you, I think.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And when you choose something 2 weeks out, you're in crunch time. You know,
Right.
I wasn't thinking about any of this. I was like, I just need a dress. My family
Yeah.
was like, that's the one. I went, okay, I'm not thinking about it anymore. This has caused me so much stress. And we were standing, it was actually a rehearsal, and we're standing in a studio in front of a mirror. Everybody has their evening gowns on. And I felt so out of place. I was the very last one, so I was at the end of the line, and everyone's in their gorgeous, bedazzled outfits that I had wanted to wear. And I just was like, I felt like I stuck out as a sore thumb, especially not being somebody who did pageants. You know, there was only like a handful of us that weren't really pageanters. So yeah, to have won that phase and to have won Miss Hawaii in that gown it was special.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's incredible.
Yeah.
I applaud you
Thank
for that.
For
That's
all
awesome.
the outsiders, you know, like
Yeah.
we have a place, you know, like, yeah.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
So touching upon, I'm going to switch topics a little
Love
bit.
it.
So to film and television, right? Producing. So is this specifically for like news, or you want to go into maybe like actual like big The Rock kind of
Oh yeah. The
productions?
big time.
The big time?
Showbiz, baby, Hollywood. Yeah, no, I've always wanted to create film. And at times I didn't know it. My mom was a makeup artist for film and TV here.
Oh, wow, okay.
So I was exposed to it at a young age. She did Lost and 5-0 and all those kinds of things, and Just Go With It, all those big movies.
Yeah.
And I switched into business school, and they had an entertainment program, and it all clicked. Like, wow, I can do my business stuff, but I can also be involved in producing be involved in entertainment. And then I figured out I wanted to produce. I had gotten a job working on a Hallmark show here,
wow.
and I was the COVID PA. I was spraying hand sanitizer. But the
Awesome.
everyone was like, that's like the worst job, right? Like the bottom tier. I won't say worst, but bottom tier at the time. But it was actually amazing because I had no other responsibility other than spraying hand
Spraying hand,
sanitizer.
yeah.
So I spent my day talking to every single department head and people that worked in the department to see where I'd fit best, you know. And at the end of it, I was like, you know, I don't think set really is for me. I think I want to produce or be a UPM. And I remember telling the producer that. We just kind of started talking. And then maybe 2 months later, he had gotten the gig to produce Magnum PI, and he asked me to be his assistant. And then
Wow.
it just started growing from there. So I was his producer's assistant. Then I got an amazing opportunity to work on Chief of War as an executive producer's
Oh, wow.
assistant and the director's assistant. And that was just like a game changer. And it really lit everything up for me, where I know that I want to affect representation. It's so important. I think we're just about to ride this wave of telling authentic Hawaiian stories. Like, this is our time as Polynesians, and you can just feel it all around you, especially in film. And Jason's project and Pa's project, it's really going to be incredible, and it's going to tell our history in a way that is positive. Like, not every story about Hawaiian history is about our strength. It's about oppression. And this is one of the first things I've seen that's really authentic, and you love the characters and you want to be there. And getting to see the recreation of even the Ali'i capes, like the feather work, it was just like,
Oh, did you see them making it?
yes.
Oh,
So, you know, it's
wow.
not authentic feather work because they had to produce,
A
you know,
lot,
like
yeah.
30 capes. You know,
Yeah.
you can't do it because those take like a year, right?
Yeah.
But they did it so well. Like, there were no corners cut, especially with wardrobe and props. It's going to be stunning to look at. And I got to put on, I think it was Kupuohi or Ka'ahumanu's cape that she wears.
Oh, okay.
And it was just like, I don't know, seeing the cape brand new, I got teary-eyed because it's just so something that you see in Bishop Museum, you know, and it felt so, I don't know, overwhelming to feel like you're a part of that culture and to see it so brand new. Yeah, I could talk forever about that show. I'm so excited to see it. They just wrapped shooting, I think maybe in July.
Yeah. Wow. Awesome.
Yeah.
How is it like being on those like bigger sets, like Chief of War, or maybe even like something like Lilo and Stitch, right? Like a live action. What is it like being on those sets?
It's very fast paced. So like things are going, and if you don't have a job, you feel like you're in somebody's way because everybody's like on a warpath to do their thing. But it's like, I don't know, the hustle and bustle of it. And then it's all loud, right? And then there's this one little pocket where they're actually filming and everyone's standing around and you can't actually hear what they're saying. You know, not everybody has headsets. So when they're actually filming, it can be underwhelming. It's like, you know, this like the most amazing like romantic scene in the movie. We're all just standing around and it's like happening in the corner, right?
Someone's eating a donut, you know?
Yeah, so you go back and watch the show and you're like, oh my God, they were filming that when I was eating my Cheetos.
Yeah.
You know, like it's funny to think about. And then there are crazy like whatchamacallit, war scenes, like these huge fights that are massive that are like continuous
stunts,
rolls.
huge
Yeah.
stunts.
And then I got to do stunts on that show.
Oh,
and
awesome.
it was just crazy. Like you're in full costume and it was just like you're in the world. You know, they build this world and I just it was so cool. It was so cool. I don't know if it's because just my culture, but the excellence of this film was incredible.
Yeah, definitely. So right now, you know, they're going through the SAG-AFTRA strike, the WGA strike. What's your opinion about, you know, these big production studios maybe fighting back against, you know, the rights of being able to pay, you know, for the actors and then getting rid of AI, you know, or reducing AI production? Like, what's your take on it?
Yeah, putting me on the spot. No, I think it's important. I think the writers and the actors, they deserve what they're asking for because AI is a really slippery slope.
Yeah.
Like if we don't nail down regulation on this in almost every field, right? If we don't nail down regulation, it's just going to become this big monster that's taking millions of jobs 10 years from now, you know? And so I think it's forward thinking to draw these boundaries right now because anything could go, you know, contract language can be so slippery and there can be so many loopholes. So I back the actors, I back the writers. I think it's important that they get paid for what they're making. And yeah, I hope they come out on top. And I know it's weird because like as an aspiring producer, you're supposed to be on one side. Yeah. But it's really the studios, you know, and I'm really new to film. You know, it's been like 2 years. I'm certainly not an expert on all of these issues. Like these are people who've been working their whole lives. Yeah. You know, they are much more educated on what they're fighting for and why it's important. But when there's entire groups who are unhappy, right? You're talking about millions of people. Yeah. Like, I don't know. I think it's fair to stand with them, you know, and to be a supporter because they're the ones who help make film. That's the thing about film is you see the actors or you see one part of it, but it takes so many different people, you know, like we need everybody and we even need the studios. But more so on AI. There have even been creators of AI who have said we need to destroy it. With like even Elon Musk says like this is a huge issue. You guys don't understand. Elon Musk has his things, right? But I mean, these are people who are at the forefront of this kind of technology and they're warning us civilians about it, you know? So not to sound too conspiracy about it, but I think that we don't know the first thing about AI. You know, what we have access to is not its own capacity. So I think to have regulation is going to be really important in every field. And this is just the first one that we're seeing where there's been a fight. So that's what I think.
Totally agree. I think there should be more compliance, especially with AI, because, you know, the thing I always think about is quality over quantity, right? And something about AI, you can mass produce tons of films, tons of shows, but are any of them going to be quality in the end? Yeah. And are people going to have a fair trade with their pay? Are they going to have a fair shot of like, oh, this is an actress that's been working her whole life for a moment, but that's been overtaken by an AI that's saying like, oh no, we have something else in mind, and we can use this and it's cheaper and whatnot. But you take away from quality work that someone's been really, really training for.
Yeah. And like we're creators. We're born to create, you know, you and I, even though we have other jobs, like this is our bread and butter and that's what we want to do. Like imagine your God-given purpose or your chosen purpose in life gets taken away from you because of a technology, but that's what you're meant to be doing, you know? I'm behind standing by those people who want to chase their passions.
Yeah, me too. I'm totally behind those that are on the strike. Keep fighting. I know some
Yeah.
people that are already striking that have already asked to be on the show, but then I was getting reminded that they're on the strike. So I was like, okay, well, we'll just wait till the strike is done and then we'll get you on the show. But
Oh, awesome.
It's-
Yeah, I hope I'm not crossing picket lines, right?
no. I think you're safe. Yeah,
Okay.
because we weren't talking. I think you are.
Yeah, okay.
If not, we'll
I know, right?
that'll be edited out.
Yeah. Star had to leave immediately. No.
Or it'll have the like, please stand by. You know, like
Yeah.
the little
Right? No, I think it's so important just to talk about all kinds of issues, you know, strike or not. I don't know, talking about trauma, talking about grief, talking about the strike, talking about things. Like, I want to be a conversation starter, somebody
Yeah.
who like engages into that.
Definitely. And another conversation I want to get into is Kahua Collective.
Yeah.
Because that's something you founded, and you know, it's very important to you, especially for so it's an after school program for students.
Yeah, I'm building that part of it. So
Okay.
the nonprofit was really birthed out of my pageant experience.
Okay.
I became obsessed with the environment I was in, where all of these badass women were doing the same thing as me. We're evaluating where we are, we're envisioning where we want to be, and then we're doing the work to get there. And I wanted to recreate that in a accessible, non-competitive space for younger girls, so that they would just be equipped with these tools I'm only getting at 25, maybe at 13.
Yeah,
Right. So
yeah.
that was the meat of it. And I started to have an events, and I had my first one. It was a sisterhood and success
awesome.
workshop. So I had guest speakers, and I had maybe 20 or so women who just wanted to absorb the wisdom.
Okay.
Right. And then it was at that event that I thought, you know, maybe I could bring this into schools and I could do an after school program. A lot of my journey consisted of journaling and doing deep work, right?
Yeah.
Because kahua in Hawaiian means foundation. So I really want to enrich our foundations or these girls' foundations so that they can start getting the tools and use it to build, you know? But if you build on top of broken foundation, it's not going to hold
Right.
the rest of your life. So
Very Christian.
yeah,
analogy.
right? I almost broke out in hymns. No.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, no, right? That's pretty hardcore, right?
Yeah.
No, but so right now I'm trying to build an after school program with a senior in high school at Punahou School.
Oh,
She's going to be
awesome.
my president, kind of my sponsor. We have a faculty sponsor.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to launch this fall. And just figuring out how to encourage these young girls to look inward and encourage them to uncover what their passion is. Took me a long time to figure out what I liked and what I wanted to do. It wasn't a waste of time for me, but I certainly could have been more productive or been more of a go-getter if I knew what that passion was. I always wanted to work hard. I just didn't know what I wanted to work towards. So that's a part of it, because each of us have different passions, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to make a cookie cutter girl. I'm just trying to help
Empower.
facilitate this self-discovery journey for these girls. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then like you were saying, you know, some people, they find their niche, or they get into their field much later. Pedro Pascal, for instance, right? He's really getting into his own as an actor, but he's in his 50s now, right?
Right.
And maybe he probably thinks like, oh, you know, that other 20 or 30 years of my life, you know, maybe he could have been doing something else to get to that space. But the thing is, it's about that journey, right? So now that he's at that pinnacle, or he's even reaching even higher heights than that, it's all those years that he was acting or trying to pursue a bigger role, it led him to that.
Right.
And the same thing for yourself, and the same thing for women that are trying to, or they're trying to find their niche, or they're trying to find their field and what they want to be empowered in. You're just giving them the tools to maybe discover, like, oh, at least if it's not something they want to go into, they can check it off and say, okay, that wasn't for me. But
Yeah.
at least they have that experience, and maybe that experience will take them to a better or a higher height. Then when they really get to their field, they'll go, man, when I took that job at Safeway or whatever,
Yeah.
that's I'm using those skills, or I met someone at Safeway that's helping me in my field today.
Absolutely. I believe God's timing is perfect. And the timing of things really are everything. So I know the program is not going to start making life transformation for these younger girls. But hopefully I can empower them with these tools and the ability to self-reflect.
Yeah.
So when they get into that moment, when it is their time, they know what to do, and that it feels like second nature because they've been practicing these things and they've been self-reflecting and they've been engaging with their community. And if only so that they understand the impact that they can have. I didn't really believe that I could have the kind of impact that I can have now, right? And I didn't do things because I knew my limits.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's not a bad term. Like, knowing your limits and knowing who you are, that's good. But I realized it was a fear tactic for me, and it kept me back from so much. But once I started kind of blasting through these glass ceilings, I realized that anything I put my mind to is possible. To the extent, to like the excellence of it, that's who's to say, you know, like if I said I wanted to be a singer, I could probably get better, but I'm not going to be Mariah Carey, right? Like, that's just, you know, that's one thing. But the environment we create in our minds, we can either fertilize it or we can, you know, throw red dirt on it and it's not going to grow, you know? So that's the heart of it. That's the meat of Kahua Collective.
Oh, awesome. So what do you see after maybe you get into the schools? Like, do you have other events or programs that you want to engage with outside of the schools that you have planned?
Yeah, I really have this dream of having a conference, you know, Kahua Collective, that the event I had, holding it on a bigger scale and maybe having a couple days. Kind of similar to like Christian kind of conferences, but we're going for, I don't want to say self-help, but self-development, you know, for leaders.
Like Bloom, right?
Yeah, like Bloom. Yeah. So Tiffany Thurston is my cousin.
Right.
Love her. Awesome. She's an icon living. But something like that. And also, I want to see Kahua Club Kahua, I should say, in every school, every high school. I'd love to partner with DOE. I'd love to see it on the continent, in every other like city. You know, especially if I had the opportunity to be Miss America. Like, I want to partner with Miss America, and I want to make these programs, and I want it to be a part of the curriculum, a part of the culture. That like Miss America is a self-developer. You know, like we can do things, you know, help rebrand them for what I know they're trying to go after. So yes, whether I win or not, this is, I realize, got my God-given purpose to have an impact on these women.
Awesome.
And I'm sure the avenue will change. You know, I'm just getting started and I know nothing about schools and curriculum and education, but I'm empowering and equipping myself with that kind of information, and amazing people have come around me to support. So I'll figure it out as I go, but I'm not stopping.
Yeah, it's definitely a snowball effect, especially when you're initiating something. Of course, it's always going to be something small, right? But then once you gain momentum, that it gets bigger to a point where you stop pushing it because it's already rolling down, and you're just trying to chase after it. And you're like, oh, wait, let me at least like try to control but it's still going out of.
Oh, that's been my
motion.
life. Especially when I started running for Miss Hawaii, I was like, okay, God, I'm not really ready. Like, I'm not really ready to do that. And he was like, nope, you're going, you know, and then look what happens. I'm like, oh my gosh.
So for prepping for Miss America, what are some things that you feel you need to at least prepare for in order to get you ready for that pageant?
That's a great question. I've worked with a few people and have had mock interviews, you know, trying to work out the best way to pitch me to these judges, you know, and all of my other pageants have just been about becoming a better version of myself. And this time it is that. But there's so much more pressure because I am representing Hawaii. You know, I'm not just doing this for myself anymore. I'm doing it for all of us. So I am there's a lot more weight behind, you know, crafting my story, like picking out the things I want to share that create so that you really see the whole picture of who I am, what I stand for, what I want to do. So it's a lot about kind of a whole other self-discovery, because it's not just about this is who I am. It's like, this is what I want to do, and this is the impact I'm going to have. So I'm really leaning into Kahua Collective and just trying to get that started in school. And I'm learning a lot along the way. There's a lot of things that just walking through the life of Miss Hawaii that's equipping me to be ready for Miss America. But that's the biggest thing, is getting myself to a place where I believe I could be Miss America, you know, because if you show up on that stage and you don't believe you could win, you're not going to win. And it's not even about winning for me. It's just about
showing yourself,
showing myself, representing Hawaii. But I will say that right now America is in deep need of aloha. You know, like I think what they need is a Miss Hawaii as Miss America. So we'll see.
Yeah, definitely. Before we end off, I want to ask, what do you want to tell like maybe women that you know are struggling with like self-confidence, or maybe they're going through a struggle in their lives themselves and they want to find a way to like maybe get into a field they want to go into, or pursue their dreams? Like what kind of inspiration do you want to give them?
Yeah, it's kind of twofold. Because as a strong Christian, I gotta say, like, God's path for you is right. You know, like he knows, and he'll get you to where you need to be. I'm not here on my own work. You know, this was because God plucked me out and had a purpose for me from the beginning. But the other side of it is, I love this quote that says, pray like it depends on God and work like it depends on you. You know, if you want a different life, you got to do different things. So like, even if you don't even believe in God, like the working like it depends on you part, like you can come up with a plan. You can set yourself to be disciplined. But this is the number one thing that I would tell anybody, Christian or not. Who you surround yourself with is going to be how you end up. You know, my pastor likes to say, show me your 5 friends and I'll show you who you are in 5 years. You know, you can create the environment in your mind for success, but also the environment around you is what's going to create your success. And you're going to start living the same life of the people around you. So that's my biggest message is find people you want to be like. Maybe you respect their marriage, you respect their family, you respect their hustle, you respect their business, something like that, and spend time with them. See if they'll mentor you, see if they'll get coffee with you, anything. Just shoot your shot. You know, don't cower, because you never know when you take a shot what'll happen.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Star, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Honored.
This was a big blessing to my wife and I. We appreciate you coming over here and filming with us and then talking story with all of us today.
Oh my gosh.
Really appreciate it.
I love it.
Do you have any sponsors you want to shout out, or you have how can people find you on social media?
Oh,
as well?
yeah. Dahl Thurston on Instagram, and I also have Miss America HI is the official Miss Hawaii page. And then I have Kahua Kollective at Kahua Kollective on Instagram. We're still building it, but yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And you could also just Google Star Dahl Thurston.
Yeah, you can. Crazy, right?
Yeah, that's crazy.
You can Google.
I just Googled myself the other day. And I was thinking, I was like, oh, maybe it's gonna be a small list, and it was a ton
of stuff, right?
It was a ton. It was kind of interesting.
Scary. I was on a plane and they announced that I was Miss Hawaii, kind of just right around me. I was like, oh my gosh, I looked super hobo. I was just like, no. But then the man leaned over like 10 minutes later, was like, I Googled you. And this is what I found. Like, this is interesting. And starts asking me about my life. And that had not happened to me outside of this kind of context, right? Like, I think it's normal if you'd Google me or I Google you because we're about to be on a podcast. Yeah. But it's a normal person. I was like, I Googled you. What was that like? And I was like, oh my gosh, sir. Nice to meet you. But yeah, weird.
What's your name? Can I Google you?
Yeah, yeah. And how do you spell that?
You have a criminal record?
Yeah, I know, right?
But yeah, thank you, Star, for coming on the podcast. And yeah, I mean,
such a joy. Thank you.
Let's do a toast to you.
Yes.
So first of all, yeah, once again, thank you, Star, for coming on here. Congratulations to all your success. Congratulations to Kahua Collective, as well as for you for Miss Hawaii. Good luck to you in the Miss America pageant, and I know you're gonna do really good. Just knowing your personality, I think it shines brighter than any pageant, I think.
Thank you so much. Kampai. Drink your chlorophyll, kids.
I was gonna spit out there.